Hey, Pepin.
What's up, Steve?
I've been thinking about time travel.
Time travel.
Yeah, I think we should talk about time travel.
Okay. Well,
All right, so on this episode, we'll talk about time travel, and once again, we have our very favorite guest, Gideon, here.
That's me.
All right, cue the intro.
all right, and welcome to We Need to Talk.
I'm one of your hosts. My name is Meader.
I'm, of course, Pepin.
And I'm going by my first name. I'm a guest, Gideon.
Here we go.
Well, welcome back, Gideon. We're really actually glad that you're here.
Excited to be here.
Yeah, you take a lot of the pressure off of us by being the Shitbag Supreme.
Oh, yes.
You've reclaimed the title.
All right. That's my cross to bear. I can do it.
So, time travel is that something you've thought about very much?
All I think about.
Really?
No, but I have thought about it, and I think it's definitely doable.
Like, possible in reality?
Yes,
Okay, and what
in
makes...
my mind.
In your mind?
Yes.
Okay, and what makes you think this?
So imagine that you can pinpoint where every molecule is. And if you could do that, then you could track time. Like if you could put a coordinate for every molecule. Like I said, you could track time on like a computer or whatever. And then if you could do that, maybe we could find a way to manipulate those molecules and put them in certain spots. And in doing so, you could go back to a point where all the molecules were at a previous point.
I think I'm following. G, are you following that?
Yeah. Do you think with that sort of methodology that it's easier to travel back in time or forward?
Well, with that, you would only be able to travel back to a point that you had recorded at.
Yeah, I was thinking of like entropy and how hard it would be to predict where molecules are going to be in the future.
Right. Now, if you could create a computer program that could predict something like that based off of whatever, that would be feasible.
So, I think a question here would be, I mean, we can put the molecules back in a certain way. So let's say the whole universe, just for this example, right? But what if we put them in a slightly different way? So we go back in time, except instead of putting G there, we put them, say, in Alabama, right?
Thank God.
Now that wouldn't be possible in this universe, right? Because G can't travel from there to there instantaneously, right? That's not possible in this universe. So would that be time travel, or would that be creating a different universe?
Well, that would be time travel, but it would also be like teleportation at the same time. It would just be manipulation of time. Like the time-space continuum altogether would be manipulated.
Can I tell you something I never bought into about time travel?
Absolutely.
That like if you squash one bug, it changes everything. I don't think every worm has an effect on the outcome of human life.
So what you're talking about there is the butterfly effect, right?
Is that what it is?
It's called the butterfly. Well, we always talk about butterflies, but this time it happens to be relevant.
This time it's about the effect of butterflies.
Yes, we're not enslaving them. We're just...
I just don't buy that. That doesn't seem reasonable to me. It doesn't seem like there's enough logic to support it.
So what aspect does not seem reasonable? Is it the fact that it's happening all the time, or is it the fact that it happens at all?
Well, the fact that it just doesn't have a real tangible... It doesn't make a tangible difference in the outcome of events.
Well, I think the idea there is like even the flap of a butterfly's wings causes an effect, and that effect in turn causes other effects. And because there is so much that is intertwined in all of existence, that if one effect is changed, in turn, over time, all things will be changed, even if it's in a tiny, tiny way.
Well, I do believe in like the systems level, and I do think that flap of the butterfly's wings causes an effect. I just don't think it's a meaningful effect, and I kind of go Occam's razor with this, where, you know, if you have A plus B equals D and A plus B plus C equals D, then C is 0.
So what do you mean by a meaningful effect exactly?
Meaning like it really doesn't change. It doesn't change the course of every other, at least on Earth here, every other organism's life.
Are you saying that the flap of the butterfly's wing creates a ripple, but the ripple is finite?
Fizzles out.
It
does
fizzles
nothing.
out, and it may cause an effect, but the effect is so small that it's not going. It sounds like your issue isn't necessarily that the butterfly being squashed doesn't cause things to change, but the level of how much it causes to change, where usually it's blown out of proportion.
Yeah, it's infinitesimal.
Yeah, where like in shows or something like that, they'll show a butterfly being squashed, and then we're being run by machines in the 1930s.
Yeah,
like,
that just seems so ridiculous to me.
Yeah, like you gotta wait at least another 60 years.
Yeah, now like if you go around and kill, 10 people, I think that is going to have a difference because there's so much more involved in human life and their effect on others.
Yeah, to give an analogy here about the butterfly, it's analogous to like gravity, right? So gravity doesn't really affect us very much. It's very, very weak. Now, it always has an effect on us, but a galaxy far, far away has very little effect on us gravitationally. Mm-hmm. And if you're very close to it, like, let's say you're really close to a black hole, that has a big, big effect on you, right? Because you're very, very close to it. But the further you get away from it, the less effect it has. In a similar way, butterfly, the flap of the wing has a very strong effect on the area around it. Maybe predators around the butterfly, but maybe not like something on the other side of the world or even in another field.
Well, I think the idea here isn't that the flap is like the air pushed by the wing of the one wing of a butterfly is going to affect something on the other side of the world. It's trickle down effect. So it may not cause it now, but in 100 years, something could have changed right in its immediate vicinity that will eventually reach the other side of the world. Not that I agree with it. I'm more or less on your side, G, here, where I think it's too small to really cause the effect that's normally shown. Mm-hmm. But just to play devil's advocate, it's saying like over a period of time, one small change can cause a bigger change. Mm. It's just at what level.
Yeah,
I think the butterfly is more of a metaphor.
Yeah, I think most
literal.
of the time it's like hyperbole, right? You squash the butterfly and the dinosaurs are still around, right? It's like this.
I could see it maybe being one of those kind of things, like happening, but I don't think it happens very often. Like, I could definitely imagine, say, a stray, I'm going to embarrass myself here, but say a stray neutrino or some radioactive particle hitting some gene on a creature, and that gene causing mutation, which causes other more evolution to occur, and for that to, say, create humans, right? And if that mutation did not occur, humans wouldn't be created. I could see something like that, because that's a very probabilistic kind of thing. But, measuring that or kind of encapsulating that in the head is very hard to do.
Yeah, like I said, it's like very infinitesimal, and it just seems irrelevant. It's practically zero.
I think the point isn't that if you squash a butterfly, it will happen. It's that it could happen.
Yeah, but
and why would you take that chance?
So small.
Hey, a chance is a chance. What are the chances that we exist at all?
I mean, well, it's like
from what we've observed in the universe, like there's nothing else that's like us yet.
Yeah, like to me, it's like the same reason I don't play the lottery, right? It's just probabilistically, it's just a waste of time and money. Win. Somebody does win,
and for them, it changes everything.
Yeah, well, for better or for worse, but
fair. Different conversation.
But there's still the millions of others who lost, right? You can I would bet a lot of money. I would bet all my possessions and everything I possibly owned to play the lottery and bet that I'd lose, right? So, I wouldn't fret to do the same thing with a butterfly in the past.
Okay, so in one instance of somebody squashing a butterfly, it's not a big deal, but it could be. But the chances are so small that it might as well not be.
Yeah, I mean, you could go like Kantian with this and be like, well, now everyone's free to squash butterflies in the past.
That's my point, is if one person does it, it's not a big deal. But if we send back 1,000 people and each one does one small little thing that changes one small little thing, eventually the odds are going to catch up to you and you're going to fuck things up.
So it's like point dancing.
It's just like point dancing.
The more people squashing butterflies, the worse it is.
Well, just to tease out a detail here. I mean, let's say you don't squash a butterfly and that butterfly becomes Hitler.
That's a really good point. I didn't even think of that.
Okay, to be more serious. So we're talking about negative consequences coming from squashing a butterfly. There could be positive consequences as well.
I was more talking about consequences at all.
Oh, so this thing's happening at all.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to.
It changing the future in any way.
Okay, so it's not necessarily bad or good.
It's the size of the change that we're talking about. Size matters.
But in a way, if you start talking about, say millions of people squashing butterflies as opposed to just like a couple, there's a chance that there might be some substantial change there, right? But there's also substantial change of not squashing the butterfly. So there's two substantial changes there.
Yeah, it is kind of a Schrodinger's cat kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
I don't understand that. Like, if you don't squash the butterfly, then things are going to happen the way that they already happen. But it's not a change. You need a baseline in order to have a change.
Well, how do you know that's the baseline?
Because it's where we're at now. So you have to set a baseline. So I think it's fair to say that the baseline is wherever we are now.
That butterfly wasn't crushed, so that's the baseline, and it should remain that way.
Well, you see, I don't quite agree with that, because there's always action that must occur for us to live, right? I mean, we're always doing stuff, and, if we look between crushing butterfly and not crushing butterfly, you could say the default state is not crushing the butterfly. But then we have to look at our everyday lives. And, if we kind of put that into every kind of action we do and take, the kind of result would be, okay, we have to do nothing. Or, not that we have to do nothing, but you know what I'm getting at?
No, there's no. So the baseline is whatever exists already. There's no baseline for the future. We set the baseline for the future, and then the only way to change it would be able to go back in time.
Well, but then now I'm kind of getting Nate's angle, because at the point you go travel back in time, the very nature of you being there has already changed the course of events, right? So inaction or action on yourself as an individual is still making a change, right?
It's like when a river splits, it's, two rivers, but, flowing from one river. And you wouldn't say, okay, there's the main river and then it splits into another river. It's both the same, coming from the same river.
You guys have lost me. You got rivers going.
All right, so time is a river.
Okay.
Yep, and you're traveling back down the river.
Am I in a boat or a canoe?
A submarine.
Isn't a canoe a boat?
You just broke my whole theory of life. Okay, so I'm in a vessel of sorts, above the waves.
Yeah. Or below in a submarine.
I might be in a submarine.
It's a very deep river.
The river of time, and I'm entrenched.
Yeah, all right, so here's... Okay, well, I want to get back on topic, because I think this is getting somewhere interesting. So, as soon as you have traveled back in time, right, the butterfly effect you could apply to just you breathing and pumping more carbon dioxide into the air and taking more oxygen in.
I think that's an extremely good point.
Right, so then whatever you do, whether it's inaction or action, well, the inaction is an action in and of itself, because you have already become ingrained in that point in time. Right, there's the change has already happened by virtue of you going back.
But over time, the change will either have a long-term effect or not. That's the original point you were making, is that the butterfly wouldn't have a long-term effect. It may have a short-term effect around its immediate vicinity, but nothing long. So the more action you take, or inaction in some instances, the more you're changing, the more chances that you're going to have that long-term change, the more chances you win the lottery.
So just keep going back in time and playing the lottery.
Find the pre-evolution of Hitler and kill it. It's obvious.
Do you think, all right, would you kill Hitler?
At what point in his life would I kill little baby Hitler? Is baby Hitler innocent?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I think another question is, could you kill Hitler? I mean, Hitler was surrounded by guards.
Not as a baby.
Not as a baby.
And not like in like his early years, like where he was, because you know the Nazi Party started as like a grassroots movement. You know, you could have walked in there and
Pull some weeds.
I mean, they got.
Also, this is a point that Richard Dawkins made before, and it's like, to kill Hitler, you wouldn't have to go actually kill him as a baby even. You could just like start chatting up his great-grandfather, and the sperm that would become Hitler, you know, many generations down, would not.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you could go after someone an easier target, like his granddad.
You're gonna chat up his granddad and make him waste the Hitler sperm on something on you?
It's not even the Hitler sperm; it's the sperm that would become the death.
Chat up was a euphemism for kill his granddad.
Better question: would you fuck Hitler's grandfather to prevent the Hitler sperm from reaching Hitler's grandmother?
Okay, I would not fuck him. I would give him a blowjob.
G?
I mean, I don't know.
You gotta fuck him. He's not into blowjobs.
Okay, do you have to fuck him, or is he fucking me?
You gotta make the sperm come out.
I would need
the Hitler sperm needs to be ejaculated.
I would need a peace of mind that there wouldn't be like an equivalent tragedy,
A second Hitler sperm?
or no, just like an equivalent to Hitler that steps in anyways, and could do far worse.
You don't.
Or Stalin rushes in and takes over Germany and does the same thing.
Okay, so I can guarantee you absolutely that won't happen. Would you take it in the ass to prevent Hitler from coming?
Like you can guarantee me that like even like of all the people that are supposedly saved, none of them turn out to be bad eggs, and a generation of them down the line becomes a genocider.
Yeah, for 40 years. I can guarantee you 40 years, nothing will go out with a shit.
But you can't guarantee me 41 years.
The Holocaust will not happen.
You can prevent that
Ever.
by taking a dick in the ass.
Ever. If I can prevent, like,
you will prevent all Holocausts from ever happening.
I mean, you have to be like you have to be immoral to not take a dick in the ass to prevent all genocide in human history.
You're guilt fucking.
Take one.
We're guilting you into getting ass raped.
I would do it. It's for the good of humanity.
But would you like it? Let's say you had to like it.
I mean, that sort of moral peace of mind is what would carry me through.
The whole time you'd be like, okay, there's not going to be a Holocaust. This is worth it.
Steve?
No, absolutely.
Okay.
What about you?
I already answered it, you know.
Did you?
Yeah. I said to give him a blowjob, but then he said he doesn't sign the blowjobs.
You would convert him into blowjobs. He would want it.
Well, I'd say just pretend I'm a woman, or grow my hair out a bit.
You'd do a seductive dance. You'd wiggle a little.
Yeah, I'd flex my pecs a little bit.
Yeah, Hitler's granddad was probably into that.
If you went back in time, would you tell other people that you're from the future?
Probably not.
No, you'd try to blend in. They'd be like, "What's with your weird bohemian style?"
I'd only tell the hot babes, and I'd get them to like it.
What?
I'd be like, "I'm so exotic. I ain't even from your time period. I know what rap is."
What would be your proof that you're from the future?
I'd lay some sick rhymes.
I would actually invent some shit. You know, I have some mild knowledge of various inventions, and I'd be like, "Hey, look at this."
Nate would patent things.
Well, no, I mean, all
Yes,
you have to do
yes.
is like print out like the Wikipedia article on like the science and math behind it, right, and just bring it back in time.
Oh my
right?
god, mathematical proofs. You can come back with that kind of shit.
Yeah.
You would break all of time.
You think that would fuck stuff up real bad?
Yeah, Thomas Edison would be poor as shit.
He was kind of a dick.
He was a dick.
So he kind of has it coming.
Tesla would be like, fuck yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't want to prevent someone like, say, Ben Franklin, because Ben Franklin was amazing. But
Yeah, he would personally was responsible for herpes making it around America.
really?
I don't know.
What?
He had a lot of sexual
He
diseases.
passed a lot of legislature that
He passed a lot
that
of.
required Americans to pass on herpes.
There was a lot of herpes going around. No, it's actually well documented that not only did he have like syphilis and like a lot of like really bad social diseases, but he spread them around quite a bit.
Yeah, but to women mostly, not
Mostly
to men.
women and legal documents.
Well, I guess secondhand, maybe that got passed on to men.
So we're talking about like peripheral.
I think in
proliferating
general,
effect.
Ben, besides like the STI and STD stuff, he was a force for good.
I'm really digging this whole Ben Franklin thing.
Wait, so
So in order of bad,
what piece of
Hitler's
what piece of
granddad.
evidence would you bring back to prove you're from the future?
I would bring back a musical styling that would not be popular for like another 40 years and be like, you're not liking this, but somebody will eventually. Your kids are going to love it.
You'd be in the history books. as the
That would be your proof. They'd be like, we just don't like this. This is
I'd be
no
like,
proof.
you don't understand genius, okay?
I'm from the. They think you're just a
I'm from
psycho.
the future.
Listen to this music. I'm from the future.
Yes. Like, I'm from the future.
You know, before they could even like record that you were the one to
No,
introduce it.
there couldn't be any recordings because then I would break all of time.
You think that would break time?
Listen, if
How?
Rakim isn't the first one to like revolutionize, then there's no Eminem.
So, what do you mean by break time exactly?
I mean that it would alter time in an extreme way. Like they would all be like, dude, that guy like 40 years ago was so ahead of his time, and he revolutionized all of music by bringing something to the table that nobody else had.
So you want to be like you want to go back in time and become a pioneer.
Like if my sick style was brought back then it would completely skip over the Beastie Boys, and then where would Jews be in music?
So the argument is that it would just mess up, the musical kind of production or the musical kind of history.
I'm saying I don't want to take anything away from the Beastie Boys.
Were they all Jewish?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
Them and
that.
the Three Stooges.
Didn't one of them just croak?
Circumcised all of them.
They all just got circumcised recently. No,
Just recently.
No, one of the Beastie Boys died recently.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh my God, which one?
I can't remember.
Ghostface
I
Killer?
only know. I only know Mike D.
I think it was actually Eminem.
Oh yeah, that's not even from a group.
Yeah.
Wait, the yellow one?
No, Eminem, he was part of the group, and then he became his own thing.
Oh, like Zayn.
Zayn the Killer?
No, what was the name of Eminem's group?
D12.
D12, that's right. There we go. That's all I had to
Yeah,
say
the
about that.
song is, it's the name of my band.
You
my
don't
name
even
is-
know the name of
Yeah,
my
yeah.
band.
So, what would you bring back to prove that you're from the future, Gideon?
Oh, I was saying like the Wikipedia articles with like detailed science and math to show like, hey, these are the breakthroughs from the future that you're struggling. Like, you could even look up the historical context, like go like 5 years while it's still an unsolved problem and be like, look, you guys did solve this.
Would you save Madame Curie's life?
God, man, I'm kind of embarrassed. I don't know this reference.
Okay, I got the perfect thing. I would bring back plans for a time machine.
I'm broken.
And
That would break time.
And the theory
yeah.
behind how to create one. And that would, scientists be like, oh, yeah, okay, he definitely came back from time.
If you didn't, would you be able to get back to the future?
Well, it depends if you have a machine with you or not.
Well, and then it goes back to, like, have you created an alternate universe?
Oh, obviously.
In of itself.
You fragmented the universe.
So
at that
maybe
point.
if going back to the future would be just going back to the present day
and see what you fucked
your
up.
universe. No. You go back to, like, we'd come back to here and we'd be
I guess it would depend on how the time machine worked. If you even could go back to the present.
in this universe.
Yeah. Man, this is some real stuff we've got going on here.
So this is a contention I have with the idea of parallel universes. When a universe is like so parallel to us, that's not possible within our universe. Is that really our universe, or is that just a different universe?
It's a different universe.
Yeah, like it's. I mean, if we imagine like branching, right? If it branches off to a point where it's something's not possible in one universe. Mm-hmm. Is that really parallel? Or is that just kind of like just a different thing? So like,
well, I mean, like parallel is just, I'd say, like a figure of speech here. Like it has a lot in common, but certain things are happening.
You're math smart. What happens with parallel lines?
I mean, there's a few theories
at infinity.
They intersect at infinity.
How?
Like, I mean, we just
why is there a reason that we assume that?
Yeah.
Let's get like stupid smart now.
Well, the idea of like why they thought to have parallel lines intersect at infinity was I don't know if this is like the accurate story of what actually happened, but the story is that some mathematician or scientist was standing on a railroad tracks, right? And he sees these parallel lines on the railroad tracks, but as he looks down all the way, it looks like they meet into a single line. And so he's like, well, that was sort of like his inspiration. He's like, well, why not suppose they meet? And
does that solve mathematical quandaries?
Yeah. It turned out to be very useful to say, well, let's suppose these meet at infinity. And when you suppose that the parallel lines meet at infinity, you get a lot of important finite results for actual mathematical objects in the non-infinite.
But to be clear, this is a theory kind of separate from, say, Euclidean geometry, right? So it's like a different thing in itself. It's not...
Yeah, a little bit of like... I mean, it's more of like an expansion, because Euclid only considered finite space.
Right.
So they're like, well, they don't intersect in finite space, so that Euclid postulate still holds true, and...
Wait, so it actually kind of includes Euclid, but kind of this...
Yeah, by saying they still don't intersect in finite space, they only intersect at infinity.
You remember when we talked about fucking Hitler's grandfather?
God, that's sexy.
And now we're talking about Euclidean knowledges and mathematics and things that I don't even understand.
Okay, would you fuck Euclid's... Okay, let's say someone went back in time and they fucked some kind of Greek princess, right? And that princess had a future egg that was going to create Euclid, right? And, that kind of screwed everything up. So would you interrupt time and fuck the person, stop the person who fucked Euclid's great-grandmother and create Euclid?
Yes. Because she was probably a babe.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, Greeks seemed kind of naturally pretty. Even the men, right? Those statues and stuff.
The Greek nose is what gets me. That and the Egyptian nose. Yeah.
I'm still kind of hung up. Like, as soon as you go, now I'm kind of hung up on the idea. Like, as soon as you go back, you've put yourself in a different universe.
So it wouldn't affect this universe right here. It'd be just saving some other universe.
Yeah, it would just be a completely different timeline.
Well, my theory is, like, my genes have progressed, and my genes are better than whoever Euclid's dad is, so, like, I'm making somebody even better than that.
Do you think... Are you that arrogant?
You don't know the boundaries of my arrogance.
I mean, I would counter that by saying that human evolution is very, very slow. You could say some evolutionary changes have occurred over the past, say, 10,000 years, but very, very, very little.
How about I fuck Jesus' mom?
Isn't that another Dawkins thing, like with memes? It's like humans have an advanced level of evolution because we can pass down memories. and it's no longer about physical traits and changing physically, is that we can change our minds from generation to generation.
That reminds me of a Pink Floyd song called "Keep Talking."
But yeah, I always thought that was funny that that's where the word memes come from, is that it's like passed on memory.
Yeah. Well, it's like with evolution. Evolution's so slow, and there are so many changes that could occur that would be beneficial. So memes, or kind of this kind of memory creation, or kind of habitual kind of passing on, is the way of the genes kind of, allowing for this evolutionary change to occur much, in a closer time period.
Yeah, much faster rate.
Have we stopped evolution altogether?
No.
Because
I mean, you can see it in dogs.
In humans, like we adapt our environment to fit our current state the best possible. So we have no longer a need to create to have natural selection. Not only we've kind of stopped that too in a way, but we don't need natural selection to make these changes for us. We change the environment instead of the environment changing us. And in that sense, we've stopped evolving as being.
In some ways, yes. In some ways, no. Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with some sentiments of that, right? Like, we don't have to. There's not really a benefit that'll be. There's a lot of benefits, right, that don't really going to make some person survive over another, right? You have one person who's naturally more resistant to bacterial infections. Well, in the current day and age, that's not necessarily an advantage because of all the antibiotic and medical science that we've developed. So, that could get passed on, but it's no longer making them more fit than other people because of the meme evolution of antibiotics.
I just think that we're devolving more than we're evolving at this point. We're getting rid of things like the appendix that used to have a function because we no longer need to have these things. We don't need to have our appendix anymore. We don't need to have whatever other thing, like our tonsils. We don't need them anymore.
I mean, you never know. You never know, like, what kind of epidemic is going to strike humanity and which ones are going to be more fit to.
I'm more saying all things staying the same, like as they are right now. Obviously, at some point there will be limitations. Like we're almost out of water. Nobody gives a fuck. We're almost out of ozone layer. Nobody gives a fuck. Like,
yeah, I mean, well, space travel. I think space travel is going to outrace environmental decay.
I want to provide a little counterpoint to this, though, because a big part of evolution is called genetic drift, and essentially populations kind of have let's imagine like a fence around them, and when populations don't intermingle with other populations, they're allowed to evolve. So we have our own kind of genetic drift with dogs because we selectively breed them, so we don't prevent them from breeding with other dogs. The issue with humanity is, we're about 7 billion strong, and our genes are always intermingling. And so because of that, they're always kind of staying the same. It's, mutts always kind of look the same, right? Because, mutts are always just these kind of interbred dogs. And, to breed any kind of specialty dogs, they always produce mutts. So the ability for certain genetic frequencies to be dominant over others, it's hard to come about when there's such interbreeding between people. There's no real limitations there.
So you're saying that we need to reintroduce the idea of fucking your siblings.
I mean, that's been genetically proven as devolving.
What?
Maybe I'm misunderstanding.
No, he's saying the opposite, that when you breed outside your own or farther away from your own bloodline, there's less.
So you're not pro incest?
No. So this is the paradox. So the more you intermix your genes, the more similar everyone becomes in that species. So when you have a species which is, say, kind of, let's say, imagine there's a fish pond, right? And the fish pond is intermingling with itself, the genes will become more and more kind of select. They become more distinct. But if the fish pond starts fucking all the other fish, from different ponds, those genes become more and more similar of that species. Similarly, the more and more we intermingle, across the globe, the more and more become similar.
Because some genes are dominant and some are recessive. So over time, all the dominants are going to win.
Well, I mean, That's what I was saying earlier, is that it's with the human mind's capacity and our ability to pass down memory and technology, etc. It sort of blurs the line of, well, what is the fittest? Like I said earlier, 500 years ago, the bloodline, let's say during the bubonic plague or whatever, right? The bloodlines that had strong resistant to infection, right? We're going to have a better chance of survival. Now, 500 years later, where we have the technology to nip it at the bud, that's not necessarily a fit gene anymore. It's a neutral gene.
Well, I mean, to go on even further with this, the genes now, which are, would be the fittest, like, say, 100 years ago or 200 years ago.
Levi's.
It's not really... It's like the smartest people don't reproduce that much. The highest earners don't reproduce. They have very few children. People who are in the kind of middle class, they only have, like, 1 or 2 kids. People who are poor, they have, like, 10 kids.
Yeah, you got to get your welfare in.
So, it's like these genes maybe not be best for, say... intellect or kind of production or whatever you would say they're best for, right? We'd say these may be superior. I wouldn't say that myself, but someone might say that, they're superior for this kind of current climate. But these are the people who are reproducing the least. And the people who are reproducing the most are the people who are at least adept to this kind of climate we have.
Sort of like Idiocracy.
I have not seen that movie yet.
So that's what keeps the 1% so small.
They don't fuck enough?
Maybe.
They're the 1% because they're having sex 1% of the time compared to the pores. Poor people don't have, PS4, so they just gotta screw.
Well, you'll find even like poor families have the current generation console most of the time. It's very rare. The one thing that humans are rarely deprive themselves of, even in like the most economic hardships, is entertainment, right? You say during like the Great Depression, they were still able to sell out stadiums and sell out concerts and sell out ball games and stuff because they're like, this is all we have.
Actually, in recessions and depressions and stuff, like, entertainment skyrockets.
Yeah.
Like, the worse the economy, the better the entertainment business.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And chocolate through the roof when it's economic hard times.
I know condoms go up in hard times.
Do they really?
Yeah, something's attached to them.
All birth control?
Well, that's like that was the whole reason why the stock market crashed in the first place. It was because Trojan's like, oh man, we need to make some money.
Wait. So the stock market crash is a conspiracy led by Trojan.
Yes.
You could say they were a Trojan horse.
I would not say that.
Dropped off a bunch of old sperm in the Wall Street. An army.
I'm not interested in old Wall Street sperm, but I'm glad you brought it up.
I do think this is going back a little bit. I am kind of fascinated by this question of, if humans are still evolving in the biological sense, in which extent? Right. What determines that the human is more fit for its environment, such that it's not something like cystic fibrosis? That stuff still occurs, right?
Well, I definitely think we have genetic kind of programs. You don't put them like that, but when you get married, let's say, they will actually look at your genes and say, okay, you shouldn't have kids. Or if you have kids, they're gonna get fucked up because you have these and these genes. They're not gonna mix very well. So we already have some kind of genetic kind of process like that, and
like naturally, but
there's no natural. This is all selective.
You can't legislate that.
I have no idea what you're talking about with that. When does that ever happen? I've never heard of that.
No. I think he's saying that it's an automatic thing. Like, you pick mates. We have a biological design that makes us pick mates that are like, oh yeah, we're going to create healthy, positive offspring out of this. But it's not
Is that what you're saying?
It's not a specific.
Or are you saying that, like,
are
we
you
have
saying like
we have
Brave
science,
New World type stuff?
Like, we have science that says you guys shouldn't have babies.
What, there's...
Well, I'm sure there is.
Is that what...
Yeah, so there's certain genes that when combined...
But
it could be from,
eugenics is a scary...
Well, we do have it to some degree. So when you get married, they will check your genes.
Who's they?
When you get the government.
The Jews.
You know what I'm talking about at all?
In what state are you that you get a marriage license and also they test your dick? They're like, you do
Just your dick.
I mean, it's not what
They don't need the blood. They need to test your dick.
They're like, before you can get this marriage license, I got to be sure you're not going to fuck.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I could be wrong in this. I might want to double check.
No, that seems like a clear violation of rights.
Never heard of that.
I
don't think you can.
They don't tell you can't fuck. But, they let you know that, okay...
It's a bad idea.
It's a bad idea.
I have never, ever, ever in my life heard of that.
Are they in the place to... I mean, that just doesn't seem like
it might be the gynecologist or something.
Proper,
I don't know.
What's your source?
I don't have one at the moment. This is something I remember.
Like, you think is going on.
I wasn't sure if you had heard this in a specific spot.
I've heard this.
Just never. Ever,
I mean, as soon as you actually legislate this, it's eugenics, right?
I've heard this in many different. I've seen this in in TV shows and a few other places.
They advise you. Well, it would have to be like a kind of glaring thing, right? It's not like you get married. They're like, we need your blood and urine sample. We got to go look at all your genetics, make sure that you guys don't breed something bad, or at least not we'll make sure, but we're going to give you advice on whether you should breed or not.
I've just never heard of that being a standard thing.
I know.
Maybe
this is new to me too.
I feel like it might be a situation where someone's the parents themselves just want to check, and they go to a specialist and they check. Because in the past they've had things like, oh, my grandfather has Parkinson's. I want to make sure my kid doesn't have a good chance of getting Parkinson's. But I've never heard of that. I mean, the way you pitched it sounds like you're like that's a standardized thing.
I thought it was. We're gonna check this out before the next show, of course, and we're gonna come back to see if I'm a complete idiot here, because I might just be rambling. But I've seen this before in different shows and a few different conversations. But I could just be recapitulating this in my head the wrong way, But we do. Okay, let's go with a more standard example. It's illegal to fuck your sister.
Yep.
And that's for genetic reasons. That's a form of eugenics, because when you fuck your sister, the
chances of poor or of bad mutation is very high.
You'll probably get herpes.
So that's eugenic in itself, right? You could say it's a good type of eugenics, right? But it's good. Also, you can't fuck your daughter. That's obviously good as well.
There's a couple of things wrong with that.
Yeah,
but it's also become I guess it probably started at government and has since become social taboo too.
I think it was initially social taboo, and then it became government. If you look at the Torah, there's stuff against incest in there.
Yeah, but you have to remember that the beginning of the Torah, that it was the Torah was essentially government. Also, these were all sort of religious run.
Religion was law for a really
long time. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay, that goes into a whole nother rabbit hole.
Until America.
Because then it's as the stories come before the government became, and then they adopted it.
Well, I mean, America was really the only one who's ever been
well, regardless, it is a smart thing, right? And it's it is like eugenics, but maybe it's just it's been ingrained in our society so long that we're oh yeah, duh, that's moral. Don't fuck your sister.
Well, yeah, it's also a positive eugenics. I mean, I don't want people fucking their sister and producing kind of babies which have all of these obviously mental deficiencies.
And you gotta imagine that started at the tribal level a long time ago. They saw the trend and they're like, we need to stop doing this.
There's actually a lot of royal families in history where they wanted to keep their bloodline pure, so it kept on going with incest, and over time the king would. This is kind of like Game of Thrones, but the king would eventually get really kind of crazy and mad and just unmanageable.
Well, they said it was there was a theory that was lead in the water pipes with the Romans, right? And it seems more likely to me that it was inbreeding, that you got the crazy.
I'm pretty sure if they both existed, it was compounded.
I mean, they found out. I think it's
you got lead.
Most historians are the lead was so insignificant, and Romans were aware that I mean, they were too wise and ahead of their time as a culture to not notice that lead would have started making them sick.
Lead used to be in makeup and stuff for women back in like those times. So like the Elizabethan time, like they would make their face whiter with lead and stuff, and it would actually like slowly kill them.
Yeah. But I do think that inbreeding is probably a more cause of madness than...
Yeah, if I could go back in time, I would just take lead out of the equation altogether.
Actually, G, just something that interested me. If I get you right, you're saying that maybe the lead in the water... Let's say there was lead in the water system with the Romans, right? Would that lead maybe cause them to be incestual?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I think, or what I'm trying to say is that they've since found that the amount of lead that was probably in their water system was, such a small amount that it doesn't have as big an effect, like to turn someone crazy or make someone have dementia or anything like that.
There are more likely causes of...
Yeah, the more likely cause is like inbreeding, on why the Roman like you had that series of crazy Roman emperors who were paranoid that everyone was going to kill them and stuff.
I'll only bring it up because it makes me think of there could be like the proximate and ultimate cause. So let's say the proximate cause is of the lead causing, bit of a... Let's say it deactivates the whole part of your brain versus like...
Makes you horny for your siblings.
Yeah. It kind of deactivates that part. Kind of like, you see your sibling, like, wow, she's kind of hot. Right? And then, they start inbreeding, and then that leads to the problem. So the lead wasn't necessarily the cause of it.
So you're saying lead in your dick makes you hard?
Well, yeah.
For your sister.
You get that metal dick.
No, not just for anyone, for your sister.
For your sister. I mean, if your sister's hot, she's hot. But if she's...
I think we've really gotten somewhere today. I think
if your sister's hot,
she's hot. Now, I think this is a pretty good spot. It kind of sums everything up. We'll stop here for this conversation, but what I want to know, what projects are you guys working on? What is there anything you want to plug? We can start over here with Nate.
Well, I'm working on this podcast right now. And I'm also working on some kind of invention, some guitar type stuff. So look forward to that in the future. Not right now. It's in progress.
Fantastic. What about you, G?
Doing a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah. Playing WoW.
Do you post it online anywhere?
A lot of Xbox. The Xbox One, you can save some clips of your gameplay pretty easily, so I posted some of that to my activity feed.
Yeah, what game are you playing? Is that like some Leisure Suit Larry screenshots?
I play. I'm playing Destiny.
Oh, nice.
But to be honest, I really don't have that many projects besides work.
We're gonna change that. We're gonna change that.
I hope. I mean, I consider this a project. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I remember we're actually kind of planning doing some Let's Plays together.
Oh yeah.
Let's Plays would be awesome.
I would love that. I mean,
jam sessions.
Yeah,
I think we should post some of the jam sessions.
I feel the desire for more projects.
So you know what? We're all together. We're gonna make some more projects, and I hope that you all listen in on those. If you want any further information, you can fuck yourself. Play the outro.
Or fuck your sister.
We need to talk.
That was a Blue's Clues.